Kathleen Kennedy humiliated after massive failures in the box office. No surprise there, but welcome back to Views with Hughes. Culture and news. This is Jerome Hughes. Now, let's go ahead and get right into it. Now, before I begin, I want to let you all know that, a lot of us have been saying this for years now and stuff that Star Wars is abysmal failure, especially under Kathleen Kennedy. Okay. Now, as you all know, Kathleen Kennedy and Lucasfilm have taken what was once a beloved franchise and turned it into a shadow of its former self. All right. So, from questionable decisions to outright failures, Kathleen Kennedy, Star Wars stewardship has left a lot of fans angry as well as scratching their heads. But think about this. Back in the day, a Star Wars movie wasn't just a film, it was basically a cultural phenomenon, okay? But under Kathleen Kennedy, Star Wars has been reduced to a series of failed experiments and a lot of missteps, okay? Or bad decisions, if you will. And Lucasfilm under Kathleen Kennedy has churned out project after project that either divided the fan base or failed to resonate altogether. But today, Disney Star Wars feels less like the galaxy far, far away and more like a franchise stuck in a creative black hole. And that's thanks to Kennedy. Okay, so one of, Kathleen Kennedy's most infamous projects under the Star Wars banner was, as you all know, the Acolyte. You see, the Acolyte was basically supposed to usher in new era for Star Wars with grand plans for 3 seasons, as recently revealed, and even a movie. Instead, the show was canceled after 1 season, leaving fans wondering how this project even got greenlit in the first place. And with this particular Lucasfilm leader and her oversight of Star Wars has been a disaster. Fans aren't stupid. We can tell when something is just a cash grab or a hollow attempt to ride on the Star Wars name. But under her leadership, Star Wars has lost, basically the magic that made it so special. You see, the characters, the stories, the heart, it's all been sacrificed in favor of woke ideology of chasing trends and trying to please everyone except for the core fan base. Now, her inability to connect with Star Wars fans is one of the main reasons the franchise is in such bad shape, okay? Now, if you enjoyed what's being shared in this video, go ahead and smash the like button, share the video far wide across social media, and be sure to subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification so that way you're notified of future uploads and updates. Now, under Kathleen Kennedy, Star Wars has had not one, not two, but 3 different roadmaps for the future. And guess what? None of them led anywhere. They weren't even successful at all. Now, Lucasfilm started with the idea of expanding, Star Wars universe through the High Republic era. Now, that fills it out almost immediately, okay? Then they lean into Dave Filoni's plan to connect all the Disney Plus Star Wars shows like The Mandalorian by Jon Favreau and Ahsoka, and even the Skeleton Crew. But with most of these shows struggling, that plan has hit a dead end. Now, Lucasfilm is actually throwing out announcements about, a new Star Wars movie or movies, but it's hard to take any of them seriously, especially with the soon-to-be debunked Rey movie. Now, the one thing keeping Star Wars afloat right now is the Mandalorian and Grogu movie that's been announced. Kathleen Kennedy goes ahead and throws this, and she's banking on the upcoming Mandalorian movie to save the franchise. But here's the problem. The bar has been set so high that even a decent movie might not be enough to go ahead and save the franchise. Now, the Star Wars Mandalorian movie will need to make at least $800 million just to break even. And it'll need to basically cross the $1 billion mark to be considered a success. Now, that's the position that Star Wars has been put in. High stakes with little room for error. Or has she not known that? But how did Star Wars end up in this mess under Kathleen Kennedy exactly? Well, it's quite simple. The company, Lucasfilm itself, lost touch with the fans. Instead of just focusing on what made Star Wars great, which is timeless storytelling, compelling characters, and that sense of wonder, well, they have been basically instead chasing woke trends and pushing woke agendas. Now, projects like Andor, while, visually stunning, cost ridiculous amounts of, money and failed to go ahead to bring in significant viewership. Okay. And Kathleen Kennedy's decision making has actually consistently prioritize flash over substance. And guess what? The results speaks for themselves. And that's no surprise right there, because we've all seen this coming. And at this point, the only way forward for Star Wars would be a complete reset. You see, Lucasfilm needs to wipe the sequel trilogy from canon and turn it into a Legends story, okay? Only then can they return to George Lucas's original vision for Star Wars. But I mean, even that would require new talent, people who actually love Star Wars and actually, understand what makes it resonate with audiences. You see, Kathleen Kennedy's tenure has proven that, she doesn't have what it takes to go ahead and lead the franchise properly into the future. And even fans of Star Wars have been burned too many times under Kathleen Kennedy and her watch. Now, from different failed projects to divisive decisions, her leadership of Lucasfilm has left the franchise in worse state than ever. And it's not enough to keep, basically announcing new projects that will never see the light of day. I mean, that's Kathleen Kennedy's basic motto, it seems, but Lucasfilm needs to focus on rebuilding trust with the fans. Without that, Star Wars will continue to struggle, and the core fans, won't even come back. But I mean, despite everything, I still want Star Wars to succeed. I did love Star Wars later on and stuff, as you all know. I want to see it return to its former glory, but under Kathleen Kennedy, that's not going to happen at all. You see, Lucasfilm has taken one of the greatest franchises of all time and turned it into a cautionary tale about what happens when you lose sight of what actually matters most. And Kathleen Kennedy's time at the helm of Star Wars has been marked by disappointment after disappointment. And guess what? The fans ran out of patience, basically. But I mean, here's the thing that a lot of people want to consider, and here's like everyone's advice to Lucasfilm. Give the fans, just listen to the fans. Give us something worth caring about again. Stop chasing headlines with empty announcements. And if Kathleen Kennedy can't make that happen, well, maybe it's time for new leadership, okay? Now, the Star Wars galaxy deserves better than this, actually. And the fans deserve better than this as well. But the way forward might involve revisiting what worked. The original storytelling that appeals to the sense of wonder that we all felt with the original trilogy could reignite the spark. And Kathleen Kennedy's approach seems focused on dividing the fan base and prioritize of controversial projects simply hasn't worked. Now, while some modern Star Wars fans have, found moments to go ahead and enjoy the new releases, the broader fan base has largely stepped away. Okay, in other words, it's dead to them. And this isn't what Star Wars was meant to be at all. Okay, now I'm gonna be honest with you all. I always think about what George Lucas originally envisioned for Star Wars, and his approach was deeply rooted in mythic storytelling, which is like basically excellent characters, universal themes, and the journeys that resonated across the cultures. And Kathleen Kennedy's tenure has largely strayed away from that path itself. But instead, we've seen an overemphasis on, the surface level details, if you will, and all the rushed attempts to capitalize on the trends. That's not how you build a legacy, and certainly not how you respect one either. Now, Lucasfilm under Kathleen Kennedy has announced a lot of projects, numerous projects, if you will, that never actually materialized, from proposed trilogies to standalone films. Fans have seen promises fall apart, and the result, a lack of trust in the franchise's direction, especially under Kennedy. Now, fans no longer feel the excitement when a new project is announced because, they've been burned too many times before. And this is actually a direct consequence from Kathleen Kennedy's leadership, or the lack thereof, okay? But think about this also. While Star Wars still holds an incredible amount of, goodwill from longtime fans, I mean, that well isn't bottomless. You see, Kathleen Kennedy has relied heavily on that goodwill, but let's be honest, it's time to acknowledge that the fans deserve better. And Star Wars isn't just another franchise. It's a cornerstone of modern pop culture, and its stewardship actually deserves care, passion, as well as competence. Okay, now we're not going to get any of that from Kathleen Kennedy, but I actually hope that she can recognize that the damage that's been done under her leadership, and she could take accountability for that. but the course can still be corrected. But it actually requires humility, honestly, willingness to return to the franchise's roots and get rid of Kathleen Kennedy. But whether or not Kennedy can lead that effort remains to be seen. But what's clear is that the Star Wars galaxy deserves nothing less. Okay, so let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below. Also, be sure to include any additional details or thoughts you might have on this particular topic. How do you feel about the current state of Star Wars? Do you enjoy it? Do you hate it? Do you think it can be redeemed? Excuse me. Let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below. Sorry about that. Also, be sure to include any additional details you might have on this particular topic. If you enjoy what was shared in this video, go ahead and smash the like button, share the video far wide across social media. And if you haven't done so already, enjoyed all the content that I put out there, go ahead, subscribe to the channel. Click the bell notification so that way you'll be notified of future uploads and updates. Till then, peace.